thanks again to everyone for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's my first time in Serbia, and it's been really great. I think I put on 5 kilos since I've been here, and food has been amazing, and I'm from San Francisco, which is known for the food. So yeah, it's been a great time. So yeah, feel free to ask questions as we talk. I like that it's a kind of a small group, and we can make it an interactive discussion to be about what you guys are focused on and what you're interested in, and I'm just trying to help you as much as I can. And along talk about what I do with InView. So how many of you here are working in a startup of some sort or a tech company? Pretty much everybody, I would assume. Anyone? How about games? Cool. Great. So this is going to be very appropriate. How many of you are developing in Unity? No. Even more. Great. Even better. So this is going to be perfect. Cool. So yeah, I'll start off with a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. Mostly I'm going to talk about the InView API for Unity, but I want to talk a little generally about the games industry in general, things you should do as a indie game developer, and talk a little bit at the end. I'm going to talk about virtual reality and the opportunity there if any of you are working in that space. And this is not connected now, so I will just do this. There you go. So anyways, the thing that the InView API is mainly doing is helping you bring our avatars into your games and help you create a business along with that. Have millions of our customers playing your game, because as you know, customer acquisition is very difficult. And I'll talk a little bit more about monetizing virtual reality, as I kind of said at the end. So this is Will Harvey. He is actually one of the founders of InView, but the reason why I'm showing him here is because he's 15 years old, and this is in the 1980s. He made the music construction set, was one of the first apps that was published by what is now Electronic Arts. Back in the 80s, games started with small teams, young developers, 1 person, 2, 3, 4. But nowadays, as you've seen the growth in the computing technology, game teams can be 400, 500, 600 people for one game. But with Unity being out there, and as I'm sure you guys know as Unity developers, it's really working to democratize the game development world. So now we're going back to that state where 1 person, 2 persons can put out a game that millions of people can play and love, just like it was before. So what's the challenge with that? This is iOS game submissions only going up through 2014, and you can just see tons and tons of people are using these tools like Unity to launch and put games out there because it's so much easier to do it. So what's great is that there's a lot of great content being made, but how do you compete to get the eyeballs, to get the people to watch and use your game? You can see the quote there, Steam has already more games in the first 5 months of 2014 than the 12 months of 2013. And as mobile becomes, more AAA, or how are the indies going to survive? Is it going to be the big game companies, or is it going to be the small developers? What's going to happen? As I'm sure a lot of you know, there are some things you really need as an indie game developer. The first one is you need a way to stand out. So this GIF here is a feature in InView, which I'll talk more about later, but called 3D stickers. So kind of more interactive looking stickers that we're using on our platform for messaging. The second one is get noticed. Once you stand out, how do you get other people to use the game? And most importantly, how do you continue to do what you do best for the rest of your life? You need to be able to monetize it, make a business. And I'm here to talk to you about how InView can help you do that. So I guess we've got a large user base, but people that do and don't know of us, have anyone heard of us before the talk? Before hearing about the talk? Yeah, so that's a pretty normal response. I'll get into more about why that is later. A lot of it is based around people use it as an anonymous social network. So they're not necessarily telling their friends that they're all on there because they want to have a completely different personality. But anyways, InView is the leading avatar-based social network that connects people in a meaningful way that is fun, creative, aspirational, and meaningful. So I'm going to give you a little bit more of a background and description about us, and then I'll talk more about the API. We're a US company, actually founded in 2004, and 150 employees and growing in Silicon Valley in the United States. Very different from your Silicon Valley here. We are the birthplace of the lean startup methodology, which I assume maybe a lot of you are familiar with. We're happy to also talk more about that later on if you have any questions about anything lean startup. We have 3 million monthly active users who are very, very engaged on the platform and who would like to use their avatars in lots of different ways. And at any given point in time, there's around 100,000 people online doing things in our platform. We also have the world's, yeah.
Can I just interrupt for a second? I
Yeah.
will probably interrupt you more.
No, please do.
Like, how many daily activities?
We don't publish those speakers, but a lot. A lot of those monthly active users come back a lot. I mean, they're very highly engaged. Average session lengths are, I'll have more statistics at the end actually too, if you want to see. But like average session length for some people can be like an hour. And our lifetime value per user is very, very high.
Compare that to Second Life, if you can, if you know.
I don't know their figures, but our average revenue per daily active user is higher than theirs. They have more users, but we monetize it a little better. So yeah, I have at the end of the whole presentation a lot more statistics that I don't necessarily know off the top of my head, but you'll be able to see. So the kind of what we found has worked really well for us in keeping a really strong and retained user base. And I think in anything you work on, these are things that you can think about, is going further than just the basic social media. Having a place where people can explore different possibilities of fashion styles, circles of friend groups, different communities you can be involved with, connecting with other people through all of the messaging channels, through visual communication channels, through the activities that you're doing in the virtual network, sharing those things with your friends. Then your friends like, as you know, things like Instagram. Validation is such a huge part of modern media, the social world nowadays. Likes is currency. You know, it's a very, very big thing, and that's what keeps a lot of our users engaged, is seeing that what they're doing is being seen by other people and things that they like a lot. Participating in this environment, in this virtual world, in this space, and then creating things for it, which I'll get more into in a second. So, InView is everywhere. We have a immersive 3D download client, which is a place where you can shop, dress up your avatar, communicate with your friends, but the bulk of it is a 3D chat room experience. So unlike Second Life, which is a big open world where you go in and lots of different things you can do, closer to Minecraft, I would say think of us like the AOL chat rooms or Facebook or something like that, where it's more on the social side of everything. They're just chat rooms that you jump in and out of quickly. What I'm going to hear about to talk to you guys today is more about InView Next and InView Mobile. So we have recreated most of this downloadable PC client in the web browser, because you know there's a big barrier to entry anytime, especially on a desktop computer, you ask someone to download something. They just want to use it, you know, like Facebook or anything else, any game that's in your browser. But obviously with 3D, there's a lot of technical challenges with that. So that's why we've been working on the WebGL version of the product, and then InView Mobile, which you can take everywhere. And just to talk a little bit more about what the platform is you basically make the avatar that feels like how you want to be seen as yourself, you know, and then you shop for the look that suits you and dress up and show your style. And those methods of sharing are through Photo Booth, which is an Instagram-like way of sharing moments in a feed for your friends to connect with asynchronously, so you don't necessarily need to be at the computer at the same time, like a 3D chat room. 3D stickers, which are part of our messaging service, which you can also will be able to bring into other messaging services where you can communicate a lot more dynamically than just a cute little whatever sticker in another messenger, but not necessarily have to video record your face talking. And then the public chat rooms that I was telling you about here. So this is the version of that in the new WebGL InView Next. So the entire Imvu economy is user created, and making your users feel empowered to contribute is a really powerful thing. So we have 100,000 creators that are creating clothes, animations, rooms, and furniture for the 3D chat rooms right now. And users buy 200,000 3D products a day in the marketplace, like things for your avatar to wear, all the other things listed before. And these creators are making a business out of it. They're earning royalties in excess of $7 million annually in our economy, and some of them make $10,000 monthly. And this is just selling gloves or shoes or virtual things for people to chat with.
What's the split?
Most purchases are avatars, like their clothing specifically, because a lot of people want to have the similar face, right? Or maybe they'll have a couple different hairstyles, but they want to kind of come off as one person. So I don't have the exact figures offhand, or we don't necessarily publish them, but it skews more towards pants, shirts, outfits, things like that. So we don't really create very many goods at all.
So, I mean, what's the business model for creators?
They get our credits, which I can talk a little bit more about. Then we pay them for the credits that they get. So they sell the goods they've made on our platform. They get our virtual currency. And then they cash that out with us. And we give them money for the currency that they have. Because users have paid for that. The users then pay us for the currency. So we're kind of like the bank, I guess, when it comes to the whole thing, in the platform that lets people use. That's a good question. So, because of that, these people spend a lot of time kind of crafting and creating their digital representation of themselves. They really love their avatars. They have these, what we call like a limbic response to the avatar, where they actually start thinking that this avatar is them. And so, if you're in a room and you see your avatar there, someone comes up and gives you a hug and you've never seen them before, we see our users, they're like, at the computer, they're actually step back. They'll feel like someone they've never met has just given them a hug and is touching them in a way they don't feel appropriate with yet. So it's really interesting how our brains will kind of change and react to different virtual environments. And this is, not even talking VR or anything yet. This is third-person view camera just on your downloadable PC. So they really like seeing their avatars in different places. It's being able to see yourself doing a bunch of different things. Right now we have one game that is very commonly played, and it's essentially a match 3 where your avatars are competing in a fashion game. And 1 in 6 sessions plays this one game, which isn't a main part of the experience, but they just want us to have this other place to see their avatars doing things besides 3D chat rooms or messaging or anything like that. So because of that, we've been working on the InView App Store, which is essentially a portal for games and experiences created by other people using Unity, using the avatars. You can see here, these are the 3 demos that we have that we've been working on. And you can challenge other people to the games, similar to how Facebook games works, but the new platform is going to be a lot more focused on this. One of the main reasons being, with Facebook, whenever you play a game with somebody else, like your thing that represents you is just your photo, which is really not a big part of the game. It's just a way to represent yourself. You don't necessarily feel a big connection to it. You'll get another character, like in Farmville or something like that. But what we're offering is a 3D character to actually be a part of the game from the beginning. So people can actually use their virtual representation of themselves as the integral component of the experience that they're going to use. And you can see that InView basically outside of that just provides all of the social networking and being able to craft that image. So going beyond just the 3D chat in general. So along with that, we want to continue the trend of empowering other people to create and do what they do best and be creatives, to bring different experiences to different people that are using our platform. So our customers like lots of different things. I can talk more about demographics towards the end, but they like funny, flirty, they like any kind of game where you're collecting, showing off, casual games kind of in general. Some like hardcore games too, but they mostly skew towards casual. Light sports, role-playing adventure games, things like that. So essentially what we're trying to do is use our experience from being the original lean startup to help a lot of other lean startups get going and solving some of the major problems that I was talking about earlier, like distribution and finding an engaged audience in a very easy way without paying a ton of money to advertise and get them through the door. So what's in the InView API for Unity? Well, what's really cool here is this isn't even publicly out yet you can download it from our website, but it's not in the Unity Asset Store yet. It will be there very soon. But we're here to offer you guys like a very exclusive kind of first look at what we're doing and having a chance to develop with it. So what's in the actual API, and I'll show in a second more about some of this. It allows you to log into InView, load the user's avatar and their profile info, so their age, their things that they like, don't like, where they're from, their list of friends, and then you can also load their friends' avatars, and along with all the other parts of your social graph, allowing you to do things like, if someone's going to play, say, a basketball game, maybe they want to play that with all of their friends. Well, if it was a Facebook game, right, you would just have these little pictures above other characters but you can actually have their whole group of friends actually there that they're already connected with, giving them a deeper level of understanding and appreciation of the experience you create before they have even really tried it, just because they already have this sense of familiarity when they do it. We automatically load mesh level of details, so we have 3 different levels of details to improve the performance of your game, depending on how much detail you want on the avatar or how close it is to the camera. We have the ability to use a lot of our social networking features, including posting images to our feed, and also reading our feed. So like, reading your Facebook feed, you can actually read that in our API. And it also has multi-user support. So we're working with Photon, and it also works with Unet. We've had multiplayer tests of 40, 50 people playing the same experience at the same time with their avatars using those services. So I'm just going to talk over. I have a little video here. I'm going to show you more what this API looks like. This is an adventure style game where the person uses their avatar to kind of like a little bit like Myst or something like that. And again, these games are more just technical proofs of concept to show you what you can do with the API in Unity, and have things for our customers to see when we start. So the next feature coming up is posting to the feed. So you can actually create your own UI to share any sort of image or picture. You can see this is the feed here in Next. Providing the viral component to your game. So if their friends see that an image was posted from this game, oh, what is this? I want to go and try this out. So what are some of the advantages of developing with us? Well, the biggest one is the first mover advantage. I would argue that WhatsApp became popular because they were one of the first messengers of their type on mobile, and they were everywhere. Being in a place before everyone else is there is just a really, really great way to engage a lot of people very quickly. You won't be another one of those 10,000 developers that submits daily to the Apple Play Store or Steam or Google and just hope that someone's going to download your game. But we're basically offering a ground floor opportunity to get you noticed. So if you adapt and put your avatars in a game you've already made, or you want to make a new game for this, we're happy to feature it in the launch of this App Store, which is going to be in about a month on WebGL and a little bit after that in mobile. Where in mobile, it will be kind of similar to something like Viber or Line Chat, where it's basically there's a tab that says these are the games and experiences you can play that use InView avatars. So yeah, right now we have about 6 or 7 companies that we're working with, but as soon as these things are out there, our customers are going to go through and try everyone with the virtual currency that they already have, that already love spending money, and they living their life through this avatar, and they are, basically we can help you guys, get you guys in business with whatever games that you're creating. So yeah, essentially it's a blue water opportunity. I guess have you guys heard the phrase before, like blue ocean versus red ocean? So red ocean is like, if there's a place where there's a lot of fish, all the sharks already go there because they eat all the fish and it's red with blood. Blue ocean means it's a ton of fish and the sharks haven't gone yet. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. So yeah, here's some general recommendations, not only for developing with us, but in general if you're working on casual games. But think about being social, think about keeping things fun and light, and keep it viral. So what components in here can get other people using your game, other people that you don't necessarily have to pay for or whatever else. So like, you see games where you get power-ups or you get extra things by inviting other people to the game. Those are great viral loops or viral components, or incentivizing people to share parts of their experience that they want to show off in whatever you're making. It's just a really great way of being able to multiply the amount of people you'll get into your experience. Just as a specific developer note for us, you may have seen some of that stock UI in the video before. We highly recommend theming the UI to your experience, not necessarily using what we provide, but believe it or not, a lot of the developers we work with just kind of use the stock UI that we give, and we want you to keep your experience immersive and keep people in that, and I think that the theming of the UI is a very important detail there. If it's something on our platform, the avatar should be central to the experience. People are going to, as I said before, they're going to have that instant connection with themselves in there, and they want to do things with how they view themselves and how they project themselves to the online world. And in the end, quality is actually more important than length of play, especially with session lengths. As you'll notice, a lot of games like Clash of Clans or Candy Crush, they're not designed to be played for an hour in a sitting, though there are games that do have that too. It's because the way we kind of interact with, especially mobile technology, is in short instances or short bursts. You're waiting in line, you're, whatever else. So quality is the most important thing, not necessarily, can I make a 40-hour, RPG like Final Fantasy or something like that. So you may have noticed that I didn't talk too much about monetization. So I'm going to go into that for a little bit and talk to you about how you can set yourself up in business with our platform. So if you're going to make a WebGL game or experience, as I said before, this is what we're going to be launching first. So it would be the smartest place if you want to start making money right away to include your monetization. There's one way. The first way you can do it is Imvu Credits, which is the currency, as I said before, our users already have. And there's very little friction to purchase. As I'm sure a lot of you know, in any experience you design, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to spend money. So that's why mobile gaming has been so successful, because Apple already has their credit card. It's just you just go and click, OK, sign in. Very, very easy. You don't have to type in a credit card number, that kind of thing. So the people will definitely spend more there. And if you use our credits, you don't need to deal with payments or purchases. If people need to buy credits, we'll deal with all that, all the potential fraud, I don't know how many of you have run businesses where you need to collect money from people, but you get a lot of interesting things where people try to get their money back, and it's just a big headache that a small developer shouldn't have to deal with. The only disadvantage of it is it's not in the API as we speak right now, but it will be by the end of the year. And the thing about it here is, so you'll make, just like Apple or anywhere else, you'll make 70% of the net credit value. So when you cash it out with us. So the second option is you can actually do whatever you want, though. You could build your own payment system. You could do what a lot of other companies use and integrate Braintree or Stripe or PayPal, which then someone would have to log into PayPal or Braintree or something like that. But the advantage is this is available right now. So if you wanted to launch something with this, you can plug these guys in, and it'll be there. But it is another SDK integration that you have to add to your app. And again, yeah, you'll have to just deal a little bit more with payments than we would, because they'll be actually putting their credit card information into your system, just like a lot of other apps that use Braintree or Stripe. But yeah, the biggest difference is that there's more friction. Just logging into PayPal, getting out of the experience, thinking about another brand or something like that is just not necessarily a great thing when you want people to make this kind of split-second decision to spend money on something. So, and then with them, your percentage net will be dependent on the specific provider. They all have different deals based on where you are, how it works. With mobile, we're a little limited with Apple, that using a virtual currency that you can buy somewhere else is not always okay for virtual goods. So you're kind of limited to in-app purchases. The nice thing is they're very easy to do, they're very easy to set up. They deal with a lot of the fraud issues. With Android, you can use the credits, or you can use it in-app purchases, or give the people options for both, which is what I would recommend in the long term. So there's a couple options there. The one I would recommend is think about power-ups, think of virtual goods or experiences in your game, extra levels, times per play, ways to speed up being able to play more, not necessarily giving people unfair advantages, but like how there's always like that kind of premium element to a lot of tower defense-based games. Like let's say you made a tower defense-based game where it's, I'm just improvising on a spot here, but it's if you're playing capture the flag with your friends or something, they're all coming at you, and maybe you can only build certain objects to kind of stand in their way, like different, barriers or whatever. You can only build a certain amount at a certain time. Maybe in in-app purchases, you have another builder, so you can start building another one. There is a way to do that now. We will be building something for the next quarter that would make it even easier. So what you could do is actually put those, if you were to do this today, you would put those items that you create, you would just become a regular creator, like the ones I was telling you about before, put those in the store, just put a deep link, especially if it's web-based, it's super easy, if we're talking WebGL, to go to that store where you can buy this thing and you're the creator of that. And what you would do is then, just like any other InView creator, you get the credits for that jersey that they bought and then cash it out with us. But that would be separate from being paid out in credits that they spend within the game. That being said, you're right, it's a much better user experience to just throw this in the game. They can use their already InView credits, they can purchase this good within the game. You would also want to submit them to our store probably the same way. But there's two ways to do it. You could do it that way when we build that into the API this spring. Or you could just have the good as an object in the actual game that only exists in the game and just build it as your own thing. Because as I said before, the InView avatars, they're all mechanism capable. You can add anything to them that you want. You can put it on top. So they can have access to their outfits and their different things. Right now, that's already in there. But again, we want to work with the developers. At the end of the day, we're here to like help empower you guys to make cool things and be able to monetize it well. So our team is very, very open to any suggestions or changes you want to make to the API. And I've just heard from the developers we've talked to, they've been very impressed with how responsive we've been. And if it's like, you have this monetization strategy, you want this thing in the API, well, then we'll do it. Because if you guys have a good idea, a way to do it, we want to basically make this there to help you guys. I'll talk a little bit about that. We haven't considered it necessarily. We're happy to support you in any way that we can if you want to do crowdfunding. So like specifically, if you wanted to crowdfund something and have InView users pay for it, we could talk about ways we could direct them to a page or something. But there's other ways of financing your project too, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But we are offering earning for apps that we really like and developers that we really believe in. We are offering earning advances. So we know that you have to keep the lights on. You have to eat. You can't put all your time into something and not make any money. Where we'll forward you the amount of credits, like a monetary amount that when you first exchange the credits back to us that you make either through the goods that you sell or just credit purchases in the API, in your game, then we'll just deduct it from that before we actually pay you out any cash, something like that. But yeah, we're negotiating with people individually. So if people have a really cool idea and something we really want to help you get out the door as soon as possible and money's an issue, there are ways we can work through it. So I'm about to jump to VR stuff, talk about that for a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap up with just kind of some more advantages of working with us. All right, so I'll jump to talk about VR for a bit, which is a very hot topic right now. How many of you are interested in developing in VR, maybe at some point in time? Yeah, a lot of you. I feel like a good portion. So Unity is obviously really fantastic in that it enables instant deployment on virtual reality platforms, kind of better I think than most game engines that people are using. Definitely easier to use than anything else. But I want to just talk like a little bit about the history of social media and where it's been moving, where it's going. So in the late 90s, it kind of all started with text only, AOL chat rooms, online chat for teenagers, stay-at-home moms, etc. It moved more into social networking, Web 2.0, user-created content, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and then it's kind of evolved into be more about photo. So Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, photo and video. But what's kind of kicked off everything was Facebook's investment in Oculus. Was that a lot of immersive social interaction, both synchronously and asynchronously, I believe that we will be able to do through VR. It's just much more rich. It feels like you're actually there with somebody. I don't know if you've ever played like a VR demo game, like a two-player one where the other person's not there. But the Oculus toy demo is a really great example of something where like you're interacting with this and it's in real time, and if you really feel like that other person is there with you. But Facebook has obviously invested in Oculus. I mean, they're not known as being a synchronous platform. Like they're really about people being able to communicate when you're not there. You don't need to be on the same time. We were kind of talking about this earlier, but if synchronous communication was the biggest thing, then I think that Skype would be a lot bigger than WhatsApp, but it's not. People really have a busy life and they want to do it when they can. So what Facebook's thinking with Oculus is, how do you capture and share moments and then have them viewed in a much more immersive way than just a video or a picture? Right now they have the 360 video, but capturing that is not something that people can do very easily. So the advantage of working with a games-based platform for your social network is all of that 3D information is already captured. So someone has an experience in your game or something else in a virtual reality game, and they want to share it with other people, they want to relive that moment because not everyone can be there at the same time. What we have is a news feed and all of the data that's available to view all that in VR, asynchronously. So additionally, our massive catalog of user-generated content really powers multi-platform applications and things in the social VR space. Just having 3D goods as the base of your network is kind of a must for VR. Like we're not carrying around 3D phones in our pocket, 3D picture-taking phones in our pockets yet. And anything that does promise to do that is kind of janky or very, very expensive. So another interesting fact is that 70% of InView users surveyed are interested in VR experiences, which is really high over-indexing in that space. Like I said, they're already used to interacting with each other in that way and representing themselves as a 3D avatar in the virtual world. So one of the advantages of developing VR with us, if that's something that you're thinking about doing, is we're already offering you a way to monetize VR, and we're offering you the user base that is more likely to use VR at first, which will get me into the next thing that I want to talk about. Is not a lot of people will talk to you about this. I've seen only a couple at conferences that I've been to. talking about a lot of the challenges of VR and kind of being honest about like where we're at with it and where we're going. Because a lot of people are just trying to sell you something. They want you to, build on their hardware platform or, work with them on whatever. But I think for me, the fragmentation of input hardware is big. The only constant you have is an on-off trigger and where they're looking. You don't necessarily know, for PlayStation, do they have the PS Moves? Do they have I guess the Oculus has the other input devices similar to PS Move. HTC Vive has their own thing. Then Oculus also has Leap Motion, where you can just track your hands in front of your face. If you want everyone to use your experience, how do you design for all of that? Most people are going to design for none of it, or we're going to wait and see which is the dominant one. So my recommendation is get really creative with where the looking is in your experience and also just tapping the on and off button, which pretty much all of them have. That being said, people really do like using their hands in a natural way. I would highly recommend against doing anything VR with remote control or something where like your hands are kind of stuck in one place if you're going to really use them, or like keyboard and mouse, that kind of thing. It just doesn't really feel right when you're, doing this. Another really big challenge for the designers out there is new graphical user interfaces to kind of go along with, okay, so this input hardware is going to be different, but how do you make it so people can interact with these things in a way that's normal and natural? Comparing how people designed for like web and then the big shift to mobile, you saw a big change in graphical user interfaces. Mobile, it was just different. Like I don't necessarily think, in some ways it's more challenging because you have less screen real estate, but you just had to think more sequentially, I feel like, the way things work. But now with VR, because you can't focus what their attention is looking at or where, what you want them to be doing, or there's no normal way to interact with VR yet. Like on a mouse, people are used to scrolling or they're used to clicking. Or how do you do that? So I think there's a lot of challenges and things to think about, and I think that's obviously where user testing plays a big role, seeing what people just feel comfortable with. Along with that is motion sickness. This, I think, there are two parts of this. There's the hardware part, and then there's the software design part. A lot of people get motion sick within the first 5 minutes of using VR. Yeah, you're raising your hand over there. It really just detracts from the whole thing and makes you not want to do it again. Part of that can just come from the hardware latency. So the amount of time from when you look and the actual thing, any small millisecond can make a big difference there. But also it's where you put the camera. So if your character is moving a lot in that space, the camera is moving, especially like straight or left, and you're not moving in real life, your brain doesn't really put that together the right way, and it's not something that's recommended right now. There's a lot of people there's a lot of talk out there about how to deal with the motion sickness element, so highly recommend just researching it. And as I kind of touched on before, is the variableness of experience. With the mobile device, you know exactly where they're looking and what they're doing. On VR, you don't really know what they're going to be drawn to. So you have to be really sensitive to lots of little details. And if you want to have like a narrative or them doing something, some important, you really got to get creative with the little hints that gets them looking in the right places. And then how are we going to make 5-minute experiences that are compelling? Right now, if you've ever seen VR used by other people or people talking about it, it's usually, in my experience, with everyday people, not necessarily just us, developers, it's with Google Cardboard, and it's at a party, and it's just like, oh, look at this cool Paul McCartney thing that Jaunt VR did, or look at this other game you can play, or go on a roller coaster. That's fun, but okay, 5 minutes. How are you going to monetize something? How are you going to engage people? How are you going to build a user base on something that's kind of a toy or a gimmick? And I'd be interested to see. I think that a lot of developers are going to come up with really interesting things. How do you make fun activities you go back to? Maybe like mobile things. They're 5 minute, so let's do it for a minute, go back. Maybe it's really designed for that. Maybe it's, there's just a lot of different challenges with some of the things I was talking about before to make it something that you want to come back to. And then obviously, the cost of devices. To get a computer that can run an Oculus Rift is expensive, and most people don't have them, especially as we're moving more towards mobile devices. I do believe this problem will get solved, obviously, with mass production and the technology getting better. The Samsung VR being a good point, like Samsung phones aren't terribly expensive, and the Gear VR is only $100 on top of that. But how do you make a platform that everyone can have, that they can afford, that also performs well? Google Cardboard being a good example of something where and the processors on the phones right now are just not strong enough to deal with the latency problems, which cause motion sickness. Like if you use a Google Cardboard on an iPhone 5S, everyone will feel nauseous. It actually feels pretty bad. But anyways, This problem will be solved in the next 2 to 5 years, I think. Though Oculus is coming out this spring, I think it's going to still kind of stay niche. I believe strongly in Sony's platform because they already have their niche of people that have PS4s that are going to use those devices. But that being said, as I said before, InView users are going to be early adopters. They're investing in this stuff. They've already built so much of their life into the virtual world. They want to experience it in more and more interesting ways. We have a couple different approaches. So we do have a team working on it. As you know, Second Life is rebuilding their entire universe in VR. But they're banking on synchronous only, right, interactions where everybody's in this space kind of playing together. I personally, I'm not speaking for InView so much, but I personally think that's a risky investment because, like I said, everyone's moving towards the asynchronous. So we want to give people the breadth of these things. That's why we're making it available and obviously using Unity. That's why we're working with them. We want people to come up with the different cool VR things to do. Someone's already developed a 3D chat using Google Cardboard in your avatar where it just uses your voice, to be transmitted. And we'll see, hey, is that something that people feel natural to them? I think it's really hard to say right now, this is the VR experience and this is how things are going to work. So we're taking the lean startup approach, which is what we do, which is, build, test, deploy as fast as possible, see what people like, and then go back to the drawing board about what they don't like. And I think with VR, this sort of approach is even more important, just because, like I said, it's such a new frontier for us, for everybody. So again, we are working on, obviously, 3D chat. We already have the demo out. We are Oculus capable, but we're not necessarily releasing that to customers at the moment with the old downloadable client that we have. And we're just doing a lot of experimentation and testing. So that's why we're looking to the developer community. Hey, we have this fertile VR testing environment. Why don't you come up with stuff? You guys can be the ones that, make the money off the next big experience that could make the killer thing that makes people want to buy the devices.
And holograms?
You mean AR or?
No, like HoloLens and Magic Leap.
Yeah, those are other, obviously, hardware that we're considering. Those could be big.
Have you tried them?
Magic Leap is not, they're both actually not possible to be tried. They don't really, unless you're a developer on one of them. But they're not at conferences or anything yet. So yeah, I just kind of want to wrap it up just to kind of, drill a few points home. Why would you want to develop with us? Why is this good for your game or your business? You get the awesome avatars, as I said, user created, already connected to 20,000 virtual goods. Big one is you can make money right away, which for gaming can take a long time to have the economy to the place where people want to spend. Access to millions of engaged users that are more likely to spend. You can revive an old concept or game idea. Though we only work with Unity 5, depending on how you built it, it may be easy to bring into Unity 5 if you built it in Unity 4. But you're like, oh, I've already built this thing. Let me see if I can make some money off it. Just put it out there, add the avatars. And then, yeah, as I said before, create a lean startup, work with us. We'll help you with your business development. We'll help you with crafting your experience. We'll help run user testing for you. We're looking for a really close relationship with our developers, not just, give you the API, make stuff, and we put it out. It's no, we want to help foster, the right experience. Bring what we have that you may not have. Connect you to other people in different parts of the world. And then, as I said before, we have forwarding of earnings available for the right experience, the right, developer. If you need to keep the lights on, you need to eat. We understand that. We want to make sure that happens and that's possible. So yeah, that's the end of the presentation.